that's enough about stars. Let's
Never.
Our topics are so different to each other this week. It just hit me.
I love it.
So let's talk about a show
This is entertainment.
that's
as well.
on Netflix. It is entertainment, but okay, we're going to talk about Mindhunters. We're not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to talk in general terms about it. So just the idea, and the trailer's going to be playing visually.
Keen.
Did any of you guys watch any of this?
I've seen the first 3 episodes.
I was unable to watch.
I watched Blade Runner.
Good,
I,
great.
know.
Let's time travel back to when we talked about that. Okay, so
I really enjoy it. I'm
This-
enjoying it.
this movie, this show
Come on.
Blade
is
Runner?
a David Fincher joint. He didn't direct all the episodes, but I'm pretty sure he was the showrunner. I really should have looked that up. But I think
What else has he done?
I noticed like 4 or 5 times when he was like the director on it, like
Yeah.
in the credits. Because this new TV lets me skip the intro on Netflix shows.
It's a good, eh?
How good is that? It's like,
I've only got it on the computer.
The TV does it.
Yeah.
Or the iPhone app. Can't do it on my Apple TV.
my phone doesn't do it. But I don't know. Maybe it's just a new thing that's only on like newer updates or something.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
So what else has he done? Sorry,
David Fincher.
someone who's
Chris
ignorant.
can look that up because I know he
I've
did
heard the
Gone
name.
Girl. Was Gone Girl David Fincher?
Charlize Theron is also executive producing this series.
Yeah.
That's
I,
crazy.
I kept seeing her name and going, wait a minute, she's not in this.
David Fincher. He's
heard the name.
like
Fight Club.
AM3, Fight Club,
Wow.
Gone Girl,
So
Girl with the
Development?
Dragon Tattoo,
It's a big deal.
Seven. That's a good one.
Mm.
Zodiac. That's a good one. Social
Oh,
Network.
So all
not a fan of
incredible stuff, but
Mm.
usually a bit twisted.
Yeah.
Except, no, I think all of them on that list were pretty twisted, right?
Well, he already made a movie about the Zodiac killer, about serial killers, so he's an expert.
Oh, is that what this was?
Seven was about? Like, he
Oh,
just jumped ahead of me.
That too.
Yeah,
he loves
they're
serial
all
Fight
creepy.
Club, it's not a serial
Isn't
killer,
Gone
it's
Girl
messed
a serial killer as well?
up. No,
Nah.
she's
Nah.
just messed up.
I never actually saw it.
was
I got
good.
it spoiled. I got it spoiled for me like right as it came out. So I was
Me
like, I'm
either.
never gonna watch that.
No,
It's quite
still,
disturbing.
still worth it.
E-Man spoiled it.
Still
for me.
watch it.
It's good. It's worth watching.
Okay, so the premise of this show is, wait for it. They're
The Zodiac Killer?
no,
Oh.
they are inventing the term serial killer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's this. This is probably super interesting to you, Dip, because you actually have something to do. Like in a very loose way,
Yeah.
you kind of do stuff similar to
Like
this,
psychology.
right?
Yeah, and growing up, my dad was a cop, so every
Cool.
book I ever saw him read was about serial killers and about criminals. So he was always interested in it.
Did
So-
that ever worry you?
Yeah, a little bit.
How did he treat animals? So
Good question.
yeah, so this show is friggin' great.
Yeah,
It's probably the most boring first episode of a season of anything I've ever seen. Do you agree?
yeah, it was a bit dry, wasn't it? It
Yeah.
was quite slow.
The first 5 minutes like hooked you so hard.
Yeah.
Which they did that really well. But then, like, if you're gonna watch this show, trust me, just push through the first episode because it picks up so hard in the second one.
Mm.
Like I keep hearing people like stopped after the first episode, and I'm like, I get it. I know why you did that. It gets so much better because. So I didn't explain it very well. They're inventing the term serial killer,
Yeah.
but the way they're doing that is so at the time that this is happening, it's the 70s, I think the early 70s,
Yeah,
and
flower generation.
yeah, these murders and things like that keep happening. The type of murders that would never happen before, in terms of the psychology of it. So like
They had a very structured way where they'd talk about, the who, the why, the motive. That was their big thing.
Was it that
Why
the-
was it a lust murder? Was it because we're a business
passion?
partner? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so
Was it that the murders were different, or the way they were looking at it was
they were
different?
just like, there's no motive for this killing. It wasn't originally. They weren't talking about it happening in sequence. It was just about like we can't understand why someone has done this.
yeah, and they couldn't. The line was they can't catch crazy if you don't understand crazy because the way serial killers kill is super methodical, but it doesn't work the same way you'd kill if you were just super angry at someone, if that makes sense. Or like revenge.
Yeah.
Like it's not as simple as that. There's a lot more depth and complexity to that. So the way they kind of portray that and delve into that is they go and interview the worst serial killers, like ever. Like, and it's not just like killing people. It's like pedophiles, decapitating people.
So
Like-
they talk about like Charles Manson and
Yeah.
the Oolong Killer, like actual. Like, I don't know. Is this a true story? Like
I kept meaning to look it up.
Yeah.
Check it, Chris.
is it or based on? I presume it's based on one.
Yeah, because it's based on a book. I know that. I just
Okay.
don't know if the book is true.
Yeah.
It's a little bit too entertaining to be true for me,
Mm.
and there's too many like celebrity killers in it to be true.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Based
Like,
on
'cause-
a true
Oh, at
crime
the
book.
same time.
So
True-
true crime
based on a
book.
true crime book.
What does that mean?
So I guess the murderers are probably
So
all
it's
the
true
same, but the drama around it, I imagine,
Yeah, right.
probably
Okay.
is the.
But it would make sense if they've
So it's
done
like-
it like he's kind of trying to do a study where he's actually, in-depth interviewing, serial killers, etc., to get an idea of their perspectives and their attitudes.
Yeah.
The author of the book was a former special agent and one of the first criminal profiles. So he's legit.
Author of one of the first criminal profiles. Is this one of the guys who's in the? Is he one of the characters?
No, he's the guy who wrote the book that it's based on.
Yeah, but like you saying he's one of the first.
He is one of the first criminal profilers.
And isn't this a
The FBI.
show about some of the first criminal profilers?
Yep, at the FBI.
Is he writing it about himself?
Well, I don't know.
It's hard to say,
Doesn't
but it
sound
really
like-
doesn't matter, and it feels very true.
Yeah.
And where this show shines is the conversations between the people and the cops, because it'll be like
The killers and the cops.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be like a 20-minute scene, but it goes by in a second because like you don't blink because it's so unsettling and deep. What did you think about it, Chip?
Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think they're the most interesting scenes, right? You want to see him get back talking to the killers, and
Yeah.
it's such a. I think the actors do a quite good job because it's just so natural for them.
Yeah.
like it's it's just some things that come out, and they're just having a conversation or they're having a sandwich. Do you know what I mean? And it's so enlightening, and you see the other actor, the main guy, like really switch on when these phrases are said, and he's really getting an insight. So. I think that's definitely the most interesting part, and I want to see what's going to happen next. After he's only spoken to one guy at the moment, so I want to see the other people he speaks to.
Are they trying to solve a real crime, or is it just research?
So they're kind of like the underdog of the FBI. Like they're almost like a paranormal psychology kind of department. They're not that, but like they're
Behavioural
kind of
science.
they're seen as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because everyone's just like
Old school.
murderers are murderers.
Yeah.
Like there's no
They're creeps.
profiling
They're bad
needed.
dudes.
Like
Yeah.
they are either good or bad.
I think the question is they're born that way. So there was nothing about conditioning. So they talk a lot to the killers, and the killer will talk about, I was institutionalized when I was 15. I was raped. I was beaten by my mother. I was humiliated, etc. So it's about them not necessarily being born, but maybe being conditioned that way from their upbringing. So
Is there much serial killing that goes on in this show?
you don't see anything. It's not scary.
It's not the point of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
The show's actually about research, which makes it sound boring, but it's one of the most interesting shows.
Okay.
Because what was it? Is it Hannibal? That's like
Yeah.
someone trying to solve a current crime by talking to a prison.
Silence of the Lambs.
There's
not like
elements
that,
like
right?
that. It's like a combination of Silence of the Lambs, True Detective, and a movie where they research a lot.
Dip's PhD.
That's it.
But Jono, you are right. So the main character in the book he wrote, so the main character in the show is based upon him.
Okay.
You're
Right.
kidding. Well,
No.
if you see the show, you'll
I
find
get
that
it.
hard to believe. But
Does he make himself awesome, or does he make himself not awesome?
you know,
I think it's
actually,
balanced.
the way it works in the show is he probably would write a really honest book about himself. But
Yeah.
like, did he write himself like that? Like,
How true was it?
yeah, like how do you know?
Is there a lot of Jewish people in this?
But I think this is a different
This is
Netflix
something
show.
else.
This is playlist. But yeah, it's like once you get into it, you can't stop watching it because it definitely makes you think about yourself a lot in like your upbringing and things you've thought about.
Am I a serial killer?
Yeah, or like how close could I have been to going that way? Things like that.
Is Dip a serial killer?
Does this show answer that question?
No, it
Is Dip a serial killer?
no.
Have you watched the whole thing?
Yeah, I finished it last night,
Okay.
and I don't know what happened in the end. Like, I'm actually a little bit confused by it. I kind of want to watch.
How many
it again.
episodes was it?
10.
Hour each.
Yeah, I think a little bit less than an hour.
Yeah.
But
I think, I'm enjoying it. Worth watching, I think.
yeah, and one thing there's so many things they do well. The writing's pretty perfect, especially in the interview scenes, because like they set it up so well, and that you know what this guy's done, but they're having the most normal conversation, but it's so bloody unsettling because you know he's cut off people's heads and had sex with the heads. Like, it's so, and the music they play like while they're talking to him is like pitch perfect to like creep you out as well.
Katy Perry.
Yeah. Just firework.
And he just seems like the most normal person ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it's pretty perfect in achieving like what it's trying to achieve, but some people will hate the show. Like,
Yeah.
if that doesn't sound interesting to you, you are going to hate this show.
If you want action and everything happening, then
Romance?
Murders.
romance, probably not your show, I think.
No romance?
From the 3 episodes I've seen.
What I was actually about to say is another kind of masterstroke is usually in this kind of thing, the interesting part is the murderers, right? And then once it gets back to like the wife or the girlfriend or whatever's happening on the side, you're like, this is so boring. I hate this.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting because of how everything they're doing affects them as well.
Yeah.
Do they have relationship troubles?
Yeah,
Because
and
of it?
so it just everything, like how they, a lot of the questions have to do with, does doing this job affect you, and like just asking these questions, like how much does it change you, and it's super interesting. It gets really deep. The ending was so deep, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Cool.
Sounds deep.
Worth watching?
100%. Just push through the first episode.
How many colliding neutron stars would you give it out of 10?
10?
Whoa. Jeez.
That's a lot of neutron stars.
It's 20.
Speaking of psychopaths,
Fair warning. Just like every other first episode of a show, there's a friggin' blatant loud sex scene. So careful if you're watching it with your mum.
First
With a
episode,
head?
yeah. No.
No, it's like a normal sex scene.
okay.
It's just like really loud and sudden. You know how they come out of nowhere sometimes?
what if I'm watching it with your mum?
Like Glow. That wasn't even a... Yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
It's so annoying.
They have to do it I think it's obligatory.
And then they don't have...
every Netflix
and then like the
season,
rest
series.
of the show has like no sex in it.
Spoilers.
It's to get you hooked. It's
No,
get the-
like
to get
it
the
has
teenage
it
boys
has
hooked.
sex in it, but it's not like sex. Wait,
Are they
that
having
didn't sound
sex
right.
while they're researching
like
or something?
like loud
It's not-
on-screen sex
You
is
did
what I
it.
mean.
This is not what... Yeah.
You know what I mean. There's still people doing it. It's just not so on-screen. Anyway,
Yeah.
you've got not long.